On the march! Legendary was the Xanadu, where Kubla Khan decreed his stately pleasure dome. Today, almost as legendary is Florida's Xanadu, world's largest private pleasure ground. Here on the deserts of the Gulf Coast, a private mountain was commissioned and successfully built. 100,000 trees, 20,000 tons of marble are the ingredients of Xanadu's mountain. Contents of Xanadu's palace. Paintings, pictures, statues, the very stones of many another palace. A collection of everything, so big it can never be catalogued or appraised. Enough for 10 museums, the loot of the world. Famed in American legend is the origin of the Kane fortune. How to boarding house keeper Mary Kane, by a defaulting boarder in 1868, was left the supposedly worthless deed to an abandoned mine shaft, the Colorado Lode. Kane helped to change the world, but Kane's world now is history, and the great yellow journalist himself lived to be history, outlived his power to make it. Alone in his never-finished, already decaying pleasure palace, aloof, seldom visited, never photographed, an emperor of newsprint continued to direct his failing empire, vainly attempted to sway as he once did the destinies of a nation that had ceased to listen to him, ceased to trust him. Then, last week, as it must to all men, death came to Charles Foster Kane. News! On the march!
What were Kane's last words? Do you remember, boys?
Yes, swear.
What were the last words he said on Earth? Maybe he told us all about himself on his deathbed.
Yeah, and maybe he didn't. Maybe it was just
All we saw on that screen was a big American.
one of the biggest.
But how is he any different from Ford, or Hearst for that matter, or John Doe?
Yeah, sure.
I tell you, Thompson, a man's dying words.
What were they? You don't read the papers.
When Charles Foster Kane died, he said just one word.
Rosebud.
That all he said?
Rosebud.
Tough guy, huh?
Yes, Rosebud.
Guy's calling
Just
for
that
Rosebud.
one word. But who is she?
What was that?
Here's a man that could have been president, who was as loved and hated and as talked about as any man in our time. But when he comes to die, he's got something on his mind called Rosebud. Now, what does that mean?
A racehorse he bet on once.
Yeah, that didn't come in.
All right. But what was the race?
Charles, looky, Mom.
Better come inside, son.
Well, that's quite a snowman. Did you make it all by yourself, my lad?
Maybe I'll make some teeth and whiskers.
This is Mr. Thatcher, Charles.
Oh.
How do you do, Charles?
He comes from the east.
Wow.
Hello, Charlie.
Charles?
Yes, Mummy?
Mr. Thatcher's going to take you on a trip with him tonight. You'll be leaving on number 10.
That's the train with all the lights on it.
You going, Mom?
Well, no, your mother won't be going right away, Charles, but she'll...
Where am I going?
You're going to see Chicago and New York and Washington, maybe. Ain't he, Mr. Thatcher?
He certainly is. I wish I were a little boy going on a trip like that for the first time.
Why aren't you coming with us, Mom?
We have to stay here, Charles.
You're going to live with Mr. Thatcher from now on, Charlie. You're going to be rich. Your ma figures, well, that is, me and her decided this ain't the place for you to grow up in. You'll probably be the richest man in America someday, and you ought to
won't
get
be
an
lonely,
education.
Charles.
Lonely, of course not. Why, we're going to have some fine times together. Really we are, Charles. Now, shall we shake hands? Oh, come. I'm not as frightening as all that, am I? Now, what do you say? Let's shake.
Why, Charles.
Oh, Charles, you almost hurt me. What's that?
Charles, Charlie.
What's that to slay with?
Mom!
You're... I'm sorry, Mr. Thatcher. What that kid needs is a good thrashing.
That's what you think, is it, Jim?
Yes.
That's why he's going to be brought up where you can't get at him.
If you could have found out what that rosebud meant, I bet that would have explained everything.
No, I don't think so. No. Mr. Kane was a man who got everything he wanted and then lost it. Maybe Rosebud was something he couldn't get or something he lost. Anyway, it wouldn't have explained anything. I don't think any word can explain a man's life. No, I guess Rosebud is just a piece in a jigsaw puzzle. A missing piece.
Throw that junk.